So I'm Anne Mosakowski, and I'm an educator. But my last job, full-time job, and I'm still doing that a little bit, I teach online. I teach teachers online on how to use technology. And so therefore, I have this title, Instructional Technology Specialist. And that title is to help teachers integrate technology into their classroom and into their teaching. About 64% mentioned that the fabricated news stories cause a great deal of confusion. I have been collecting terms, two-word terms, and a lot of these I'm sure you've heard. Some of them are old, like rumor mill. That's nothing new. Some of these are a little newer. Witch hunt, we've been hearing a lot about. Clickbait, we've heard the alternate fact one. Phony issues, and so forth. But my favorite is this one, outrage fatigue. Never have we had so much information at our fingertips. It's really a glut of information. This bounty, will it make us smarter, better, informed, or more ignorant and narrow-minded? That whole critical thinking piece that we just heard a little while ago. Awareness of this problem and our educational response to it. At present, we worry that democracy is threatened. I use a tool that's called Learning Playlists, and this is the URL for those. They have to make sure that their students are able to evaluate the news in this, again, one of those two-word phrases, post-truth world. One of the teachers found it, wow, eye-opening. All that these sites existed. She didn't realize that there were these sites out there to evaluate it. And again, however, she also found it shocking to realize how much fake news is out there and how quickly people share articles. As Brian just mentioned, they click and it goes out. Commonsense.org is one of those resources that the teachers get to explore more in depth. It's just a short video about 5 ways to spot fake news.
Here are 5 ways to spot fake news. Number 1. Look for unusual URLs. If they end with .lo or .com.co, chances are they aren't legitimate news sites. Number 2, dissect the layout. Look for grammatical errors, incorrect dates, bold claims with no sources, and sensationalist images. These are all red flags. Number 3, dig deeper. Find out who wrote the article and who supports the site. If this information doesn't exist, or you need to register to get it, then question why. Number 4, cross-check. Use fact-checking sites to confirm information and see whether other credible news outlets are reporting similar news. Number 5, try a reverse image search. If the same picture appears in unrelated stories, you may have a reason to be suspicious. For more media literacy tips, visit us at commonsense.org.
This article from the Huffington Post I saw, and I liked the list, and I thought this would be a good one to show how to recognize a fake news story. One of my favorites is read past the headlines. Brian mentioned this too. You look at the title, it's a sensational title. Oh, and people, they believe it. I have to share this. They get angry or whatever it is. You need to read the story. Think before you share. Don't just share. Think about it. So, more quotes. They're not sure if there's a war on fake news or a war on real news. Finding it difficult to have the discussions in their classes. They have students who are coming to their classes with heads full of propaganda, things they've heard on the media, from their families, and they're not able to recognize the difference. We must help, notice the word help, students to think critically. Help teach them how to break down all the information into something more manageable. Well, there's this breaking news consumer handbook out there online. And when you go to this site, this list is there. And it's suggested that you print it out, cut it out, and keep it by your computer as a helpful tip list. So on the media, breaking news consumer handbook. If there's a glut of pop-up and banner ads, it's pure clickbait. Check the domain. And we talked about that in the video, and we're going to look at that again in another list. If it has things like .co, it would be .com, .co. If it's .co, you want to be a little leery of it. If you land on an unknown page, check the About page. Then Google it. If you're suspicious, put the word fake in and you see what comes up. If a story leads to links, you can follow them. Garbage leads to worse garbage. If there's no links, quotes, or references, it's another telltale sign. And verify an unlikely story by finding the reputable outlet. More to the list. Check the date. Social media is notorious for this. And always read past the headlines. We saw that one before. We're seeing it again. Photos may be misidentified by date. And there's a search engine out there called TinEye that is a good search engine to use when you're looking and trying to find out if this image is real, fake, misinformation about it, whatever. Gut check. Remember I said people read and they get angry? If you get angry, it's going to be designed to make you angry. That outrage fatigue. Finally, if you're not sure it's true, don't share. Please don't share. Melissa Zimdar, she's a professor of communications at Merrimack College. And when she put together this list, she rated these websites on if they were fake, satire, because not everything out there is necessarily fake. It could be satire. Conspiracy, if it has that bent. Extreme bias. If it's just pure clickbait. Hate news. State news. If it's political, again, that rumor mill pops up. Junk science. She also rates it proceed with caution. Might be okay, but you know. And there's also credible and unknown. So these are the categories she used. And this link that's here is a link to a spreadsheet that has those tiny little words. So that's why I put them in bigger for you to say. So how do you know how to discern if something is fake or not? Fact checker, Washington Post. They rate if something is real or not. Snopes.com uses the symbol of this X, the red. Factcheck.org, I also like. It's Annenberg Public Policy Center. Really solid site to go and check if a story is real or not. And PolitiFact checks and ranks political claims. So how do you do that? So say you see a story and you're not sure. You would copy the URL from that story. You would go to one of these fact-checking sites. You would paste that URL into it and click, and it rates it for you. Media bias fact check, and it rates it. See that the line, the arrows? It rates it from extreme, left, center, least biased, right center, right, extreme. And again, it's this, and it's really for people that are in the news business and the communications business, but anybody can use it. The one that I thought was interesting is this BS detector. That's a plugin for your browser. So it's free. If you when you're doing searching, and if you have this BS detector as a plugin, then you can click on that and it'll tell you if the story's real or not. This is another one that is new. It's called Hoaxy. So what it does is it's a visualization tool, shows the path of fake news as it spreads. So more resources for evaluating fake news. The Digital Resource Center at Centers for News Literacy. Newsium, Ed, 10 questions for fake news detection. That's a digital poster. And if I were to click on it, you would see it, but again, it would be hard to read this way. And we're going to talk a little bit about images. TinEye is a reverse image search tool. So, real picture of Harvey rescue, Harvey the hurricane time, rescue. First appeared on CNN's website and then appeared on social media, this one. It's been photoshopped. So I used TinEye to search, and when you use TinEye, and how would you do that? So you would isolate this picture. You would right-click on it to get the URL of that picture. You go to TinEye, you paste the URL into that, and it brings up a list of stories, or a list, of where this picture and the real picture showed up. So one of the first ones on that list was Snopes. Remember Snopes? We talked about that. And if I clicked on this URL, it would take you to what you would find on Snopes.com, factcheck/Trump-Raft-Harvey. And when you go to their site, not only is that picture there, but the real picture is there. So you have the two pictures together side by side, and then there's a little video about these pictures and a story about it. So you really get a lot of information about, in this case, a fake picture. Here's another picture. Now in this case, it's a real picture, but it didn't happen then. It happened at Thanksgiving 2015 in Washington, D.C. About Google reverse image search. The way you could find out and use, there's a couple ways. If you Google, how many people use Google? Okay. And you know at the top you do a Google search, and at the top it says news, images, videos, so forth. And if you click on the word images, it's going to bring up a whole bunch of images or whatever you search for. That's one way. Or you could go directly to images.google.com. It'll bring you to that same idea. You type in what you're looking for. When you go to a Google image and you start to just put your cursor over it, it'll pop up, like in this case with this picture, when I put it in, maybe it was 3 days ago. And it'll let you know that that's a really current picture, that this was in the news 3 days ago. There's something called reverse.photos, which is for mobile devices. Again, a free app. It's multimedia resources, and this list should be twice its size by now. I just cut it down for this presentation. There's a lot of information out there in multimedia. Linda Beck. She did a TEDx talk in Harrisburg.
Pew Research also says that in the last year, 90% of Americans say that they have accessed news via a digital device. 40 to 45% of Americans say they often use a mobile device like a tablet or a phone to get their news. And that number is growing even among adults over age 60. The problem with getting our news this way is that we begin to lose the contextualization of information. So something from a legitimate news site like the New York Times plays in our brain the same way as something from The Onion, a parody site, or something from a truly fake news site. Furthermore, O'Neill goes on to say, Facebook does not optimize for truth or for content. It optimizes for likes and shares. And the data shows that we are really only shown about 30% of what we could see. And that's generally based on our likes, our comments, and our shares. So while we think that we're seeing everything that our neighbor posted, the reality is that we're seeing targeting courtesy of algorithms.
Now they take the real person's voice, slice it up, put it back together, and present the message. Very sophisticated and sort of scary. Technologies that create fake audio and video are quickly evolving. It's still, I'm going to show you a clip and you're going to see it's still a little off, but it's getting better and better all the time.
It has been modified from its original version. It has been formatted to fit this screen, and it never happened.
On the back end now of my presidency, now that it's almost completed, although there are all kinds of issues that I care about, the single most important thing I can do is play golf. Because our parties have moved further and further apart, and it's harder and harder to find common ground. On the back end now of my presidency, now that it's almost completed, although there are all kinds of issues that I care about, the single most important thing I can do is play golf. Because our parties have moved further and further apart, and it's harder and harder to find common ground.
One of the most important things he could do was play golf. And we know he would have put it that way, but obviously over the course of his presidency, I'm sure he used the word golf, used the word play, used the word whatever. And then, I don't know if you noticed this, the video went on, you saw the person's face who was actually saying those words, but it was manipulated to fit, and again, to put with Obama's voice. Scary, right? So, final quotes about fake news. On top of that whole critical thinking skills that students and all of us really need to know to discern if something is fake news and not just read and be done. But the sad part, the other quote is, there's no easy solution. So having questions and doubts is a good thing to be that critical consumer of the internet and other media. Thank you.